30 miles from the city of London, the shards and high-rises filtered through the suburbs, through towns and villages, until the landscape flattens into the wild of the North Kent Marshes. This is a place that echoes with the past. 2,000 years ago, the lower sea level allowed Roman industry. Rich clay was excavated, moulded and fired across dozens of potteries. The Saxons resisted the Viking raids to create settlements of significance and build a crossing point to take boats across the Thames estuary into Essex. Then came the Normans, draining the marshes and building farmsteads and manors. In the 12th century, the monks of Rochester Abbey acquired land here, and the area prospered through the trade of wool. The dissolution of the monasteries saw the crown take ownership, and the land sold to fund war and folly. With the sea defences no longer maintained, the land became tougher to tame. The creeks and fleets swelled, the marsh flooded. The people forced into retreat, scratching a living on drier, higher land or seeking employment further afield. The 16th century saw a succession of severe floods and a prevalence of marsh fever. In 1607, in his work Britannia, the antiquarian and topographer William Camden wrote that the marshes were an unhealthy place to live. The bite from a mosquito might be less dangerous today, but the marshes remain an inhospitable environment, for man at least. Alex first came to this place as a child, wildfowling with his father. Big skies and salty air. In time he became intimate with the 1,200 acres of marsh, fleet and estuarine topography. The pained cry of a curlew, the arrowed rip of a peregrine falcon. This landscape is intoxicating, and Alex is drunk beneath its spell.
No noise, it's just peaceful, absolutely peaceful in the most wonderfulest of ways. Yeah, I think the words Arcadia is the word that I'd explain it down here for me. I've been down here since a kid. Ever since I could drive, I come down here as often as I can. As a kid I used to camp down here a lot and fish down here a lot and shoot down here, and now I just camp down here for the nature side and just leave it like that. It needs no more. Just nature, one with nature, one with the earth. Peace and quiet and tranquility. Easy life. That's what I like down here, it's an easy life. Got no worries.
Adam is an angler less sedentary than most. He is not content to simply sit and wait, to rely upon time and inevitability. He is most happy roving the banks of the Hampshire Avon for large chub and roach, or here, stalking the fleets just a stone's throw from his house. Endless hours of immersion and exploration, of watching and understanding. This is the way Adam angles, an absorption as important as the quarry he seeks.
The estuary had begun to seep into my pores, and I realised that beauty could be found here if you looked for it. There were the twisting rivulets which wound their way out across the vast muddy bays as the water made its way to the sea. Container ships that seemed to float across the land as they sailed on the hidden river. Beauty was in the boundless sky and private chatterings of rooks gliding across it, in the bubbling aria of a curlew, in the sound of church bells coming across the water from Essex, amplified by the river fog. To many, this was a wasteland, not an area of outstanding natural beauty, but a landscape where man had seen a blank canvas to dump unsightly industry. The remnants of these industries littered the bays, bawley boats rotting in creeks, cranes collapsing into old gravel pits, forts lost and lonely on islands. The estuary has sucked these human fingerprints into the mud. Broken houses and sheepfolds. Whole villages have been whipped into submission by the wind from the sea. Bring it on, the estuary seemed to challenge. I will take you too. The estuary was a rough-edged beauty, but it had begun to get under my skin.
Tucked away in quiet corners and forgotten backwaters can be found an old strain of feral carp, a descendant of the true wild carp that came from the Far East and populated the Danube. Anglers know them as wildies, a moniker of affection that represents Britain of old. Their true credentials as pure wild carp will never be certain, but the popularity of these fish as ornamental trinkets among the Norman nobility might hint at their spread. A strain preserved in isolation, separated by time and circumstance from their modern cousins. Today, anglers are stirred by the mystery of the fish in the places where they reside, ghosts of the forgotten, secrets lost within man's neglect. Like the tumbled brick of a bygone Victorian garden, or the eerie still of an abandoned building, the layers of time can almost be felt. Wildies are living relics of our own medieval history. It remains a mystery as to how the feral carp found their way into this landscape, but there is one potential source: a moat beside the ruin of a castle. Following the reclamation of the land and the creation of the fleets, these stone remains are now 2 miles inland, no longer standing guard upon the edge of the sea where they were built in the 14th century. To the west of the castle, the moat lay abandoned, a network of water almost ornamental in design, that today lies mysterious within the shadow of willow, poplar, and a single huge cedar. The current owner keeps the moat as a sanctuary for nature, but formal gardens sit alongside, Victorian benches, summer houses and follies form a place for reflection and solace, with the tall ragstone towers conjuring a sense of the old, a sense of mystery. Tantalisingly close, Adam is shown feeding carp by Andrew, the gamekeeper. Andrew grew up in a nearby village and has known this place and the marshes for his whole life. He tells Adam stories of £20 cod caught from the estuary wall and a huge carp hooked from the fleets that was witnessed by his uncle. He saw it close up, close to £40, then it was gone. The line parted. The more Adam learns about the marsh, the more questions remain unanswered. He may not cast a line in the castle waters, but as he watches, he spots the unmistakable silhouette of a Wildie, a torpedo too cunning and quick for the creak of a cameraman to catch. Then, close in, a koi carp. Prized by exotic fish keepers, this is a fine example of perhaps £15 in weight. But this is not what Adam really wants to see. If this grand ornament was to find its way into the fleets, then it may dilute the feral genes. The Wildie strain is delicate, a balance easily tipped. In some ways, that is its very charm, the genesis of all carp. Adam leaves behind the locked gates of the castle moat and returns to the fleets once more. The Wildies are calling, and Adam is a seeker of old, ancient carp.